Welcome to another Marvel Legends action figure review. I'm Green Room Collectibles, and today we are going to be opening up the vintage Gray Beast. I'm super excited to open this figure. I saw the original Beast release, and I never bought him at the first time I saw him. I can't remember why, and I definitely regretted that. Here's a look at the back of the box. Take a picture if you want to read that. And I definitely regretted that, and I've seen the Age of Apocalypse Beast, which I'm not totally interested in, but once I saw these Gray Beasts pop all over Canada, I mean, my Toys R Us alone had probably 30 of them, maybe 40. I thought I have to grab a Beast for my collection. So here's a look at the brand new retro card for the Beast figure. I think this is my favorite and only retro X-Men figure that I'm currently planning to collect. It looks really good, and I'm super excited to get into the figure. So let's do just that. So here's the Beast out of the packaging, and before we actually talk about the figure, let's just take a look at the extra accessories in the box. So at first glance, we have the glasses. These are his reading glasses that you see a lot when he's within the academy reading some books. And what good are glasses without some books? I haven't actually taken a look at these. Let's move the camera over here. So it looks like it's not written in English, whatever it is, but it looks like maybe some maths and some sciences. So maths trademark pending. We also get an angry head sculpt, which is pretty important to me. I think that just getting that like smiling head sculpt would be super weird. So getting this nice angry head sculpt for more serious scenes would be nice instead of like that Thanos build a figure, the kind of ugly one that first came out when he was just always kind of smiling and looking goofy. This is definitely gonna look very well in action figure photography, so you can kind of get two pretty big range on him. Next up, we have just a fisted hand. We don't get two sets of fisted hands or two sets of really any similar hands. They're just always kind of different. And we get this palmed hand. So that's nice variety, but there's not a ton to talk about in the accessories. I mean, we do get a good amount of accessories. It's not as many as the Gwen Stacy vintage figure, but I think this might be a little bit more worth the bang for your buck than the Gwen Stacy vintage figure. So let's take a look at the Beast now. Alright, so right off the bat, you can definitely notice that the figure is very large, but unfortunately, I noticed something the second time looking at it, and it's these pretty noticeable scrapes. I mean, they're not super noticeable, but they're noticeable to me because it's my figure. Now, this isn't worth a return for me because I know likely that if I return a figure with scraping, they're just going to put it back out on the shelves, and that's not really what I want. I can deal with it, and I can most likely, when having more time on my hands, fix it. It's annoying, but it isn't a deal breaker for me. It will, however, affect the final score because this is me ranking my figure. So, looking at this Beast, it looks amazing. It's filled with articulation. The accessories are great, but let's take a look at the head sculpt. So the head sculpt, this is the more happy head sculpt, the kind of joyful, I'm not going to murder you and your family head sculpt. It's a nice head sculpt. So let me adjust my lighting. So there's the smiling head sculpt. Now, I want to notice all the positives, but I immediately am taken to a negative on the chin. There's just a little bit of some paint smudging. On the top of the hair, you get a much lighter blue color, more light blue than any other part of his body, other than the shorts. And it doesn't really look super natural, but I see what they were going for, and it looks fine. Now you get these, the black hair. I almost called them sideburns. I guess you could kind of call them that. And they turn out pretty well. They have this textured effect that makes them feel very. They look and feel kind of like strands of hair, so that's good. It gives you kind of a depth on the character's hair. Now the ear also has a mark on it, and this ear seems to be okay. The head sculpt is good. It's not great. I kind of have like a line through right here on his face if it will focus. You can see that. If you look closely, you can kind of see like a line protruding from his face. Not protruding, but coming off his face. As far as the mouth goes, it's pretty standard. The teeth aren't really defined as most recent Legends figures were. It doesn't look bad, but it just doesn't look great. Now, looking at the figure up close, it looks like they did get the pupils right. It doesn't look like he has a lazy eye, which some figures have some really wild eyes when they're painting on the pupils, but it seems to be alright. This figure's textured throughout, and I can't compare it to any other Beast, or like the Dark Beast or the 2018 X-Men Beast, just because I didn't have them, but I believe they're almost the exact same. You get this nice texture throughout that gives it that fur effect. It looks really good, and they make sure that they trim it out so it looks natural. So around the chest, it's a lot smoother when you have a lot more fur in closer to the chest, a lot more hair. It's textured throughout the body. The only time that it gets smooth is to his lower torso. You kind of get these blue shorts that really just feel painted on. Nothing too special about them, except for once you get to they do give you a wrinkle effect. There is another splotch there, but there isn't a ton to talk about there. Now the legs are the same, textured throughout, and there's more furry patches to give it that kind of like comic book essence. These hands are used for, I believe this hand is for used to hold the glasses, and this hand is for holding the book. I could have that backwards. I don't think I do though. They're pretty standard, and then the glasses can go on his head if you're wondering. I will show that to you now. It's not as easy as like putting Octavius's glasses on, but you can do it. It looks a little ridiculous. It's just because the glasses stretch around his ears. They can't really go on to anything. It's not the best, but I'm not super disappointed. I won't be wearing the glasses a ton. I'll most likely put them in his hand like so. But that's kind of just like the overall look of the figure. It looks good, but I think I'm really more excited to talk about the articulation in the figure. So let's just jump right to that. Hold your horses there, Connor. Before we look at the articulation, let's actually take a look at what the figure looks like with his swappable pieces on. And he looks good. Now, one thing that I did notice is that, I don't know why, this is probably just me, and it's not even a gripe. Like, it's so weird. Personally, I would have done a little bit more, liked a little bit more detail on the nails. They just look a little bland compared to like this texturing around the figure, which makes it look kind of like realistic and cool. But it's such a minor detail, and that doesn't bug me remotely. It won't affect anything. I just thought that would be a cool addition to the Beast figure. All right, so the Beast articulation is as follows. It's just little forewarning. It's amazing. As you could expect, the articulation is incredible. So he can look up a lot. Like, that's a pretty good amount if you ask me. Like, pretty natural amount. He can't look down a ton because he has a huge chest and a long chin, so that doesn't really work out the best for him. You can get his head to pivot a little bit, but it's more just 360 rotating on that. So not really much head pivot. I mean, there's barely any, but it is there. Okay, so you have these nice like swivels in the arm that can get you that extra range. They move in and out, and what I do like that Hasbro did was they continued to texture the arm and put design in it. That's a big deal to me. Just getting those bland things popping out in the middle of the figure always bums me out when that happens. So it looks really good. The arm can move up about that much because it just has such bulky shoulders. They can obviously 360. You can swivel at the bicep. There's a double jointed elbow, which is much needed for a very articulated figure like Beast. Hands have some great range and articulation. I believe all sets of hands are just up down. There's no like aiming or shooting hands, or however there is usually. And obviously you can 360 the hands. So the abs and the chest piece have tons of articulation. So not only do you get, I wouldn't really an ab crunch. It's like a lower ab crunch. You also have this nice moving piece. I can't really think of what it's called right now, but it's on a lot of figures like the Spider-Man figure, and it just gives you that extra range of articulation if you do need it, which I think with the Beast you definitely do. It can 360 most likely. I wouldn't force it though if it doesn't want to go, just because it feels unnatural. I don't believe there is there is no swivel at the waist. You can lift the leg up about that much, which is just a ton that you're going up to the side. You can pretty much do a full splits with the Beast. Ouchie. You can kick forward that much, and you can kick back. You can just do full split range. So he's got basically split. That's good to see. So you can 360 these legs, but it is giving me a little bit of squeak. This one's just not going at all, but you can do it. It's just very tight. But yeah, you can do it. I would warm up. If your figures feel really resistant, don't force them to do it immediately. You can warm them up, or you can slowly rotate them over the course of time. They'll slowly go with you, is what I've noticed. So don't force your figure to do something it doesn't want to do quite yet. Double jointed knees, I almost said elbows again. Double jointed knees. Last video I said elbows is embarrassing. You do get that toe articulation, which is just such a throwback to the Toy Biz days, and even to the early 2000s, or the early 2000s Hasbro Legends. Your foot can move up that much. It can move down that much, and you do get ankle pivot. So overall, this action figure is versed with some incredible articulation and pretty nice design. Here's the Beast next to the Marvel Legends Hugh Jackman Wolverine I just recently reviewed on my channel. Go check it out. Alright, to say the least about this figure, it's a really good Beast figure. It has some great articulation, necessary accessories, and fits to scale very well in your collection. I'm very excited to have it. I would give it an 8 out of 10. The reason I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 is there was some paint splotches. I feel they could have possibly thrown in some extra hand accessories to really sell this figure. And there were some design choices like the head where I feel like there could have been some extra effort into it. And of course the damaging on the back. Now, do I suggest you go and buy this? If you are able to and you want a Beast in your collection, absolutely add it to your collection. It doesn't seem to be very rare and is a very reasonable price. I don't think these will be around forever though, so grab them before they're gone. Overall, I really enjoyed toying around with this figure.